Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna get straight to the point. I just want to put a disclaimer out there that this is not a political agenda. This is not politics. These are my thoughts. I'm not being paid to do this. This is just a child from the soil who is expressing and taking accountability and responsibility for myself and my actions. So without any further ado, I'll just get to it. If you can bear with me, it would be great. I wrote everything down to just be clear so I don't waste much time. Today was a day of deep reflection. Today I reflected about the country that I grew up in. A country that was filled with so many challenges. A country whose politics I know better than my own, whose politics was taught to me in history. A country that aided with the conflict of my ancestors and I. A country that gave me the opportunity to not only be at peace and safe, but also allowed me the ability to develop to my highest potential. A country who's part of my blueprint. A country who gave me the ability to understand who I am without limitations or restrictions to my development. I didn't agree a lot with the political stance of the country, but yet that was just my opinion. But the structure it took allowed me to challenge myself, allowed me to make my mistakes and learn from the lessons and be the best that I can be today. I'm not fully there, but I'm grateful for the opportunity that the soil has given me in my journey, within my journey of self-development. I was faced with a lot of challenges being black in South Africa. Even though I was foreign, when I was looked at by those who were opposed to the integration, the same insults that was used on the black South Africans were used on me. I was fortunate and I was lucky to be blessed with a father that I had, who instilled in me who I was. I was blessed and fortunate to have a father that was able to guide me and make me understand that a person is not, the color of the skin is not what makes or breaks a person. What makes or breaks a person is what a person does. And if somebody is foolish enough to think that they are better than me because they're a few shades lighter than me, then the stupidity is not on me, it's on them. I was blessed enough to have a father who challenged me to think out of the box. I was blessed enough to have a father who was able to stand by what he believed in, irrespective of what other people said. I was blessed enough to have a father who was a spokesman against injustice. My dad faced a lot of political issues back home, and that's why we had to come to South Africa. I came to South Africa when I was 3. I went back to the DRC when I was, I think, 25 for the first time, and I haven't gone back since. My father was not just a religious person, a man of God, but he was also a traditional man. He understood his roots. He understood who he was, where he came from. And my dad was a very strong supporter of Tshisekedi the father. Tshisekedi the father was not just his tribesman. Tshisekedi the father was his comrade. Like, my dad had a lot of respect for him, and my father believed that in his leadership. And it's funny because when my dad was doing the things that he was doing for Tshisekedi the father, a lot of people mocked him, told him that it was never going to happen, and my father persisted and insisted on that which he felt. And it's unfortunate that my dad and Tshisekedi the father is no more, but their legacy, their vision, their patience, their endurance is what Tshisekedi the son is living today. And I pray that Tshisekedi the son, my brother, will take this crown and use it for its people and liberate a lot of us from the shackles of being away from home. And with that crown comes a lot of responsibilities and a lot of challenges. But I pray that he will honor the struggles of those who came before him, that fought for him to be where he is today. Today at midnight, we would be witnessing bloodshed. Today, without fail, at midnight, if it wasn't for the Constitutional Court agreeing to hear the call of Jacob Zuma's lawyers, today we would be witnessing widows crying for their husbands, mothers crying for their sons and daughters, children crying for their fathers and mothers. We would have been mourning. I thank those in the constitutional courts for not allowing this to happen. But more so than that, this video is for Ntate Zuma. Ntate Zuma, I just firstly want to say I am sorry. I am sorry for my ignorance. I am sorry for the things that I said about you. When I first heard of Ntate Zuma was with the rape case. And at that time, I was filled with so much anger, so much resentment, so much disgust. Not because of any other reason, but I was so tired. I was so tired of our fathers and our brothers abusing the power that they had. So I thought. And I spoke out of turn, Tate. I was part of the youth that thought that was too educated, that was too knowledgeable, that was civilized. I think a couple of months after that scandal, whilst it was still happening, I was sitting with my dad at my sister's house on the balcony, and we're just talking about stuff, and for some reason you came up and me and my dad were talking about it, and I was telling my dad how I felt and so on and so on. And my dad was smiling as I was telling him this. And it was so unusual for my dad, Ntate, to be smiling when you're talking to him, just smiling. It was so unusual. So as I finished my big PhD speech, my father asked me a few questions. One of the questions he asked me, the first question he asked me was, what if that was me and people were saying these things about me that you have just said about Zuma? How would you respond or react? When Tate, I was like, I was shooken to my core. I didn't realize how disconnected I had become from myself, from my people, from my tradition. When my dad told me that, a light bulb went on in my head. When we think of politicians and presidents or men of your caliber, when the media tells us who you are, we tend to forget that you're not just the president of a country or a politician. There is more to you than just that. When my father asked me that question, he brought me back to myself, that you are a husband. Firstly, you are a man, you are a husband, you are a father, you are a grandfather, you have a family. The second question my dad asked was, when you look at his smile, does that smile, is that a smile of a rapist? From being brought down to earth to another light bulb clicking in my head in my venture of becoming a feminist, without understanding what is feminism and where it comes from, I was back at the beginning of our conversation. It was a platform for me to show my dad that I was intelligent. It was a time for me to take everything that I have learned, that I have read, that I have seen, and try to make my dad understand that the problem was with him and the men like him, that they were the ones that were the problem. Like, my dad was a problem. And my dad stopped for a second and he said, Aisha, parler c'est pas connaître. Talking is not knowing. Before I could recover from that statement, my dad then asked me, who are you? I was completely lost. I was like, from the smile to who you are, like, what are you trying to... Immediately he came with an answer. He said, you are an African, and don't you ever forget that. My father said to me that the people that you sound like, the people that you think you are alike, will never accept you for who you are. And that I was taken aback by that statement. My dad said, we have our own traditions, we have our own ways, we have our own morals. And I should never make the mistake of looking at our elders as foolish, or as idiots, or as uneducated, or uncivilized. He said we are different. He said that our elders may not know how to read and write, but that does not mean that they are not intelligent. It means that they are wise. For as long as I am alive and I can remember, I have never seen my dad be disrespectful to elders. I have never witnessed or heard that my father was disrespectful to an elder. I had forgotten the teachings of my father, but I was a young woman, and I think the different approach my father took to educate me and remind me of who I was very crucial for my development at that point. Ntate. As I reflect over the years, how you have been treated by your peers, by us, to this point where we are, I ask myself the question, the first question my father asked me, what if you were him? So niyaxolisa baba. Niyaxolisa because of my arrogance, my ignorance, my stupidity, for not understanding the sacrifices that went into creating the freedom that we are all enjoying by all parties. Ntate Zuma, my father, I want to thank you for who you are. I want to thank you for your essence, because your essence speaks for itself. I want to thank you for your being. I want to tell you that I understand that it wasn't an easy road for you as a husband, as a father, as a man, I understand that nobody is perfect, that we have all made mistakes. And through our mistakes, we have learned lessons. As your daughter, Ntate, I have never met you, but I stand in support of you. I stand with you and your family in this time. This video is just a video. I wish I could do more, but this is the least I can do in standing by you and your family in this time. I want to thank you for keeping still, even when many would have sold out by now. Thank you for understanding that every country has a secret, in your own words, like every household. I want to thank you for opening the doors of so many. I want to thank you for keeping your spirit alive. I want to thank you for keeping the fight alive. I want to thank you for not compromising yourself and the struggle that you fought for. I want to thank you for being the best that you can be. I want to thank you for not running away, for showing us what bravery looks like, for standing up for what you believe in. I'd also like to take the time to extend my gratitude to your wives, my mothers, for standing by you, for not conforming or selling out. Thank you, my mothers, for teaching us what it is to be a woman, for the power you harnessed. I want to thank you for keeping our father safe. I want to thank you from a daughter to a mother. I want you guys to know that you are not unnoticed, that you have taught me the sacredness of a woman, the courage of the woman, and the power a woman harnesses. If you, our mothers, had not held Ntate Zuma the way you have been holding him, today we would have been speaking another story. I understand the internal battles in a family, especially a polygamy family, a polygamist family. My dad was a polygamist. I understand that it hasn't been easy. I understand that your silence is very difficult. But I want you to know that your silence is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. Because many of us would have not withstood that which that you guys are withstanding. And my mothers, you have restored my hope, you have restored something in me of being an African woman. You have restored my power, my strength, my courage, my grace, my integrity, and my loyalty. I'd like to take a moment to just apologize to the daughters of Ntate Zuma for slandering your dad, I cannot even begin to imagine the difficulty, the pain, the sadness, the hurt, the frustrations, the anger over the years that you guys had to endure. It must have been a trial, because every daughter knows the bond between a father and a daughter, especially when our fathers get old. But I have to applaud you and salute you for your stance and your grace and your strength and your loyalty to your dad. Because when the tide turned against my dad, I was not brave or courageous as you guys were. And even though I couldn't be that for my dad, I want to thank you guys for how you protect, support, and love your father. It shows. To my brothers, the Zuma sons, I think especially to Edward Zuma, I followed your interview. I heard you. I heard the frustrations of a son. I heard the pain of a son. I heard you. And I applaud you. And I thank you for demonstrating what a bond between a father and a son looks like. In a time where we see fathers being killed by their sons for status, for power, for greed, your stance was a stance of bravery. And I know you don't need me to tell you, but I appreciate you. I also want to extend my thanks to all the brave and courageous people who are standing with Ntate Zuma, who have left their homes in this time of the pandemic and has decided that enough was enough, hands off our father. I salute you. It was a very uneasy feeling for me, because from the get-go, when I heard the sentencing, Wendate, there was an unrest in my being, and I had to reflect. I had to think about it. I was wondering, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Hence, I'm an African child. It is engraved in our beings, Ubuntu. It's one word, but it carries so much. As a child of the soil, as a princess of Africa, as a sister, as a mother, as a daughter, you cannot not feel what a lot of people are feeling. And as I reflected and I sat with it for a couple of days, I thought, how could I show my support, my love, my understanding, my appreciation to you, Ndate? And I thought, let me just make a video to firstly apologize, and secondly to thank you and your family. One thing I learned from my dad, I learned a lot of things from my dad, but one of the things that I learned from this amazing man was, you tell a lot about a man through his family. And the fact that your family has shown loyalty, integrity, love, compassion towards you, even a blind man can see that your legacy, your integrity is not something that is a put on. I really pray that our fathers can reach a point of understanding, compassion. I pray that everyone could just leave you and your family and afford you this time in your years to come, peace, tranquility, that they can allow you to just enjoy your family, your grandchildren, your community, that you are able to live a life free from drama and pain. Ntate, niyaxolisa. Niyakuthanda kakhulu. And I hope this reaches you. And I hope that in my own little way, I was able to stand with you, maybe not in the physical, but in the spiritual. I'll be praying for you tonight, midnight. I'll light my candles, I'll say my prayer, and I will keep on praying for you and your family, because whether you were aware of it or not, whether you did it for me or not, you made a difference to my evolution. And because of who you are and the struggles and the fights that you fought, I was able to reside and find a home and make a home in your land. And even though the world and the soil belongs to everybody, but there are certain beings that have put in the work. And as much as a lot of us don't see it, maybe we don't recognize it, maybe we fail to understand it, I don't. And I don't take it for granted either. And I just pray that there's not going to be any bloodshed, and that your legacy will be the legacy of a man who chose his country, even though his people, some of his people, didn't see it. Ngiyabonga kakhulu Ntate Zuma. Niyathanda. May God send his angels to protect, to guide. May he touch the hearts of those that are the decision makers, and may we see peace come out of this situation, and may we all learn a lesson. And I know there's going to be so many comebacks and all of that stuff, but it's so nice to sit in our homes and point fingers at everybody else and make as if we live a perfect life, as if we have never done anything wrong in our lives. So we hold those in power accountable as if they are not human beings. Hence, we also have to take a bit of stock of what we do and what we say and the things that we've done. And once we finish analyzing ourselves, then we can start pointing fingers at everybody else. Hence, I took the time to reflect on myself before I could point fingers to anybody. You know, I'm not on a political rampage here. I'm just a daughter of the soil, and I am a princess of Africa, and I feel that it is my duty and responsibility to take accountability and ask for forgiveness. At least in Tate is still alive. I would have hated to have to read this when Tate was no more, you know. And maybe we can take a script from this whole story and start doing some work with him. And yeah, I love you, Ntate Zuma. I love your family. I love your wives. I love your children. I think that you have been the best that you can be. And for that, I salute you. And I hope you get to see this. And I hope it lifts your spirits. Yeah. And that's from me, Aisha.